Okay, let's dive in. We often hear about amazing research happening in universities, stuff that sounds like it could genuinely change the world.
Right, breakthroughs in medicine, agriculture, you name it.
Exactly. But there's this huge gap, isn't there, between finding something amazing in a lab and actually getting it out there where it can help people.
Yeah, that jump from invention to real-world innovation, it's tough. Often things just get stuck.
It's a difference between a brilliant idea sitting on a shelf collecting dust and one that's actually available, making an impact.
And that transition, well, it's complicated. Institutional hurdles, funding,
Right.
all sorts of things get in the way. But today, we're looking at a really interesting case study that kind of maps out how to overcome that.
We're focusing on the journey of Dr. Khalid Massoudi. He's an associate professor, plant biotechnology at Sher Kashmir University of Agriculture Science and Technology, SKUAST.
His story is fascinating because it really highlights how policy can unlock potential.
So our mission today is to really unpack the sources, detailing how Dr. Massoudi went from fundamental drug discovery work. He started back in 2016 looking into anti-cancer molecules for prostate cancer.
Which is incredibly important work, obviously.
Absolutely. But traditionally, almost impossible to commercialize right out of a university lab, especially under the old rules. So the big question is, what changed? What allowed him to leap from that research to actually launching a successful health supplement that's now going global?
It's all about how policy created new possibilities.
Yeah.
And to get why this leap is so significant, we kind of have to understand where things started. The traditional academic setup.
Right. Let's set the scene. Dr. Massoudi, he's got the credentials, MSc, PhD in biotechnology, even a postdoc in drug discovery from the University of Pennsylvania. Clearly brilliant.
No question about the technical skills. But being brilliant isn't always enough when you're faculty, and also technically a government employee.
Yeah.
For years, the expectation was really narrow.
What, just do research, teach students?
Pretty much. Do your research, teach your classes, publish your papers, and that was kind of it.
So the whole system was geared towards getting tenure, maybe getting grants for more research, but not really thinking about getting the tech out the door.
Exactly. The structure itself almost discouraged it. Dr. Massoudi himself talks about this lack of vision, you could say. Before things changed, research usually just ended when the paper got published.
And he had a quote about that, didn't he?
Yeah, quite blunt. He said something like, "That paper will stay on your desk and do nothing." The research was a success by university standards, sure, but it wasn't reaching anyone.
Wow. So potentially life-changing discoveries were just stuck inside the system because the path forward, legally, financially, just wasn't there.
That's the core problem. The university didn't really have the mandate, and the faculty didn't have the protection or, frankly, the incentive to think like entrepreneurs.
And you run into all sorts of issues, right? Like who owns the intellectual property? The professor, the government institution.
Huge issue. And then there's the conflict of interest problem. If you're a government employee starting a company based on your research, that's a minefield globally.
Okay, so that begs the question. If the system was so locked down, what blew it open? What were the catalysts for change?
Well, there were a couple of major turning points. The big one was the arrival of NWHP. That's the National Agricultural Higher Education Project.
NWHP.
And right alongside that, or shortly after, the university adopted the National Innovation Startup Policy. That was crucial.
So it wasn't just about getting some extra funding. This was a shift in the rules, the legal framework itself.
Precisely. NWHP and this new policy weren't just about grants. They fundamentally changed how research success was even defined. The leadership was basically told, hey, why aren't you commercializing your technologies?
So a direct challenge to the old way of thinking.
Absolutely. The focus shifted from just counting publications to looking at actual impact. And that National Innovation Startup Policy specifically gave faculty the green light.
It allowed them to actually start companies based on their innovations, even as government employees.
Yes, which is a massive deal. It directly tackled that conflict of interest barrier we talked about. It created an official approved pathway for tech transfer.
Okay, so the policy changed the game. Can we see the effect in the numbers? Like, did it actually lead to more innovation getting out?
Oh, definitely. The impact is really clear when you look at patent filings at SKUAST.
Right. Patents are a good indicator of attempts to protect and potentially commercialize inventions. What was it like before NWHP and the policy change?
Before, it was slow going. Very few patents filed over, say, a 5-year period, maybe just a handful. Remember, patents cost money, take time, need legal expertise. Things universities didn't always prioritize funding.
And after?
It's like night and day.
Mm.
The institution suddenly filed more than 100 patents.
100.
Over 100 filed, and it tells you two things, right? One, how much potential was just lying dormant.
Yeah, waiting to be unlocked.
And two, the sheer administrative effort needed to handle over 100 patent applications. That shows a huge cultural shift, a real commitment from the top.
And Dr. Masoudi's team was right in the thick of this.
Absolutely central. His team filed around 15 patents in total. And get this, of the 35 patents granted to the whole institution this year, 5 belonged to his team.
Wow, so they really jumped on this new opportunity.
They really leveraged the new system effectively.
Okay, policy clears the way, creates the incentive, but innovation needs fuel, it needs money. How did the funding work here? Did NAAHP help with that too?
That was another key piece. NAAHP wasn't just policy. It had a funding component specifically targeted at innovation, patents, and startups.
Ah, targeted funding.
Yes. According to the sources, Dr. Masoudi's team went to the NAAHP support group with what they call their crazy ideas. Things maybe too applied, too market-focused for traditional academic grants.
Right, ideas that bridge that gap we talked about.
Exactly. And NAAHP provided that crucial seed funding. Enough to take their invention, professionalize it, and start moving towards a real product.
Okay, so we have the policy shift, we have the funding. Now let's talk about the product itself, because they made a really interesting strategic pivot, didn't they? Dr. Masoudi started out focusing on actual drug discovery for prostate cancer back in 2016.
Yeah, and that's a really important point. Pursuing a new pharmaceutical drug, that's a long, long road. Decades, potentially. Phase 1, 2, 3 clinical trials. It requires astronomical amounts of funding and carries huge risks.
Right, it's the Mount Everest of commercialization.
Pretty much. So they made a very shrewd move. Instead of going down that incredibly long and expensive path, they adapted their findings. They took the promising compounds they'd identified.
From the local medicinal plants?
Right, from plants in the Kashmir Valley. And they pivoted towards creating a health supplement. It's a much faster route to market.
That's smart. Using the same core discovery but packaging it differently to navigate the regulatory system more quickly.
Exactly. And that led to their main product, Magic Food Taxo. It's positioned as an anti-cancer health supplement.
Okay. Magic Food Taxo, derived from these local plants. But even as a supplement, you can't just put it on the market, right? You need approvals, legitimacy.
Absolutely. For a health supplement in India, the key hurdle is getting clearance from the Central FSSAI. That's the Food Safety and Standards Authority of India.
FSSAI clearance.
Okay, getting that clearance is vital. It means the product meets safety standards, labeling rules.
Yeah.
It gives it legitimacy. Without FSSAI, you can't legally sell it, and consumers wouldn't trust it. They secured that.
So they got the patent for the formulation, and they got the FSSAI clearance to sell it as a supplement.
Correct. That combination paved the way for commercialization.
And how has it done? Has this pivot actually worked in terms of reaching people?
Well, according to the sources, the results have been pretty remarkable. The efficacy seems to be the real driver.
What kind of numbers are we talking about?
They've enrolled over 1,000 patients who are currently taking the supplement.
1,000 patients. That's significant scale, especially coming from a university project.
It really is. And the sources emphasize the speed of the results. Patients are reportedly seeing benefits quite quickly.
How quickly?
In just 7 to 10 doses, apparently.
Wow, 7 to 10 doses. That kind of rapid noticeable effect, that's a powerful signal in the market.
It absolutely is. And it kind of validates the whole chain of events, doesn't it? The policy change, the funding, the pivot. It led to something that seems to be genuinely helping people quickly.
And this success isn't just local, is it? I understand it's starting to get international attention.
That's right. It's already being exported to Malaysia.
Yeah.
Which, involves navigating international trade, logistics, not trivial stuff.
Definitely not. But there's even bigger news, right? North America.
Yes. This is probably the biggest validation. A Canadian company has apparently seen the efficacy data, the patient numbers.
And they want in.
They do. They've made an offer and are entering into a license agreement to commercialize Magic Food Taxo in both Canada and the U.S.
That's huge. A product developed at a regional Indian university based on local plants, potentially hitting the shelves in North America.
It really demonstrates the global potential when you get the framework right, when you allow research to move beyond the lab.
So this really feels like a template for a new way of thinking about academic research, doesn't it? The whole goal seems to have shifted.
I think so. It's moved away from just publishing papers as the end goal. The new, bigger objective seems to be Do the research? Yes, but then patent it and find ways to commercialize it so it actually benefits society.
Research for the people, not just for the journals.
Exactly. And this whole success story, from the initial crazy idea to a global licensing deal, you can trace it right back to that seed planted by NAAHP and the policy changes. They effectively built the bridge from the lab bench to the marketplace.
So for you listening, whether you're in academia, maybe an entrepreneur, maybe running R&D somewhere, the big takeaway here seems to be that institutional policy, getting that alignment right, it's not just bureaucracy.
No, not at all. It's the key. It unlocks potential that might otherwise just stay trapped.
And Dr. Masudi had some final advice in the source material, didn't he? Kind of a call to action.
He did, and it really sums things up well, especially in a world where, traditional jobs might be scarce. He essentially says, take a leap of faith.
Don't just wait for permission or for the perfect conditions.
Right. Look around you. See what problems exist, and then try to come up with innovative ways to solve them. Don't be afraid to think differently.
And his point was, if your solution is genuinely good, if it really addresses a need,
then the support systems, the NABHPs, the funding, the policies, they're more likely to come along and help you commercialize it. The innovation, the answer to the problem, has to come first.
the power is in finding that solution.
Precisely.
So think about that. Now that you've heard how the right institutional setup, the funding, the IP clarity, the smart regulatory strategy can take a discovery from a lab to over 1,000 patients and potential global markets. What big problem in your own field, your own world, is just sitting there unsolved, waiting for someone, maybe you, to bring that disruptive, innovative answer?